The Future Ahead Book: A Brief Introduction to Chapter 8. Written by Wur Deng Lueth. Chapter 8. Long Suffering, and No Ending Soon. Those who fear being in peace with others are the enemies of peace. Jesus was here on earth 1,000 years ago. And his message was a sense of peace, forgiveness, and life after death. Yet today, the world is more dangerous than before. Just the push of a few buttons could wipe out every life on earth. People become smartest and more confident as they advance, which raises the question of God's existence as an entity that governs and oversees all things existing. With the current complications of things on the planet, the question of the presence of a God could not serve the assumption or room for the logic and intellect argument of reality itself. Instead, the fair question could be, what is the nature of God? And the simple answer is that God is how you want it to be for you. Your belief is a God. God is not an independent entity, but the energy that your belief and desire activate. South Sudan. The long-coming freedom and celebration did not last long before entering a new war. The civil war between the North and South Sudan ended in 2005. That peace allowed the South to gain independence in 2011. In 2013, 2 years after, war broke out in the new country. Why? My older brother went back to South Sudan after independence, and he was forced to join the army without training. As a result, he was killed in July 2017. The war between South and North Sudan was for the cost of freedom that ended the Arabic inhabitation in the South. The Second War of the South was a lack of leadership and vision. Many people remained in North Sudan, and others lived in refugee camps in neighboring countries. Almost 2 generations were born in North Sudan and other countries. They've never been to the South. Fear and disappointment are the greatest. Sudan conflicts have been around for so long. Even before the one that broke out in 1983, there was a civil war between the South and North. South Sudanese suffered long enough, and many lives were lost in conflict. With the conflicts in South Sudan, the problem is more profound than one issue. The country is in survivor mode, and God knows when to get us out of it. There is no single solution or diagnosis to South Sudan's problem. To make sense of and address these conflict topics, we have to be honest when assessing the issues. Up front, know that I am not a social researcher, but I will point you to some of the factors worth examining. My assumption began to point to those factors. As we try to find the answers to failure and misgovernance, a few factors come to mind. The following are some of the factors. War impact. Education system. Environment. Belief. The country has military rules mindset. Many feels there is one who liberates the country. Lack of accountability. Lack of standard procedures for appointing or electing leaders within the South Sudan government. The factors listed above have impacts and contribute to individual behavior and the way they look at things. Let us begin with the population of South Sudan, a basic understanding of governance, and then the relationship between citizens and leaders. The awareness gap is wide. Most of the population, including today's leaders, were refugees in Khartoum. Nothing could come out of there or be expected of the leaders because some were servants and had no experience or confidence to lead the nation. Some of them have never had a regular job. Therefore, we should not be surprised by the country's failure. I suggest that people create a new vision for South Sudan's future in order to save the country. The country was born deaf from the get-go. Education-wise, most went to school, but it is not enough to lead. The surrounding environment, most of these people have cattle keeper mindset, and the war created multicultural people who spoke different languages, making it difficult to centralize. I admit that these challenges are fundamental and need people to deal with them accordingly. The starting point in any situation is to assess the problem and examine existing issues. What was supposed to happen before and after independence from Sudan? Was South Sudan ready for independence? South Sudan's only plan was separation from Sudan, but governing was another game because, with no experience whatsoever, failure was predictable. Lack of vision, the country had no plan after independence. In addition, there was a lack of proper governing, including implementation and execution. Reforming South Sudan's national military was a massive failure from the start. Failure to establish a sense of nationality, loyal to land, not leaders. Additionally, the naming of the country, the name Sudan should not even be associated with the new country because it reminded people of the crime that was committed against the South. Knew a goal, not just separation, the separation caused a few to misunderstand the history of Sudan, and unity could be achieved based on equality. The solution could be to establish a strong constitution that could save the future struggles of both the North and the South. South Sudan has universities without a textbook or curricula. Those schools are cubs gathering, not educational institutions. Failure in the education system now will have an indignant result and negative impact on the future generation. The book is now available online as ebook, paperback, and hardcover on Amazon, googlebooks.com, barnesandnoble.com. Get your copy today. For more information, visit us at www.onutime.com. Also, on my YouTube channel, Making Learning Accessible. Thank you. Wur Deng.